Commercial sets live in this constant tension between art versus speed. Yes, you're hired for your taste, but you're judged on how fast you can deliver it. Here, let me explain. And here's a perfect example of that. We had to capture 5 spots in 2 days, 1 location with a pre-light, all comedy. A perfect balance between the art versus speed narrative. When you're moving that fast, decisions have consequences. Wake up, it's match day, messenger. And here's the thing, speed doesn't mean rushing. It's actually the result of smart choices that we've made before we called action. I remember when I was interviewing for this job, the producer was very concerned about, hey, do you move fast? And that could be a crutch for many cinematographers. Always trying to finish that last 7 to 5 to 3 to 1% better of an image when you owe a day, and that will take away shots. And my goal is to never get rid of shots. We're here, we're executing those boards. Now, does it happen? It does. For one thing or another, not always on me, it's probably on sound. My goal is always to move quickly, and that just doesn't mean compromises everywhere. That just means that we can move quick because we prepared. Preparation is key, and if you want to learn more about those, you can check out some of my older videos. If you're just watching this for the first time, we've made it to the 40s. Doing most of these videos earlier this week in the 20s. So this is a nice change of pace. Still trying to warm up with a cold brew, which is kind of an oxymoron, but that's okay. So the question then becomes not how do we move faster, but it's actually how do we get rid of friction? And friction comes from maybe not the proper tools, the right crew, or right location. Here, let me explain. And here's what we did. We relied heavily on 3 major things. A top tier crew that we were blessed to get. Lighting from mainly outside windows coming in, plus 1 major key source rigged overhead, and a top tier camera and lens package. What this allowed us to do was move the actors around the set freely and keep that momentum of a comedy bit going. If they felt like it was better to be on the other side of a counter or walking into the space, it didn't call for a relight. It allowed them to do that. And this is also where I think one of the biggest pro tips I can give you is sometimes it might sound counterintuitive, but using a bigger camera support system like a JL Fisher allowed us the flexibility to adjust the camera's height quicker for set, and it also gave you the freedom to arm out over counters with offset arms and get creative with petting, booming up and down. We were able to be like, hey, here's this food shot, let's do it like this, pet up and down, pet, whatnot. You throw a little 4-foot slider on the end of a JL Fisher, and you can keep that comedy going with a little left to right truck movement. And of course, we brought a few sets of rails that we threw down on the ground for a couple intro shots where we were pushing into a frame or pulling back to reveal something. Now, those type of things can slow you down, but if you plan ahead and know this is where we're gonna land this track for this shot, then we're gonna move on to this and this and this, and you don't have too many hiccups come up, then you're moving. We had to do 5 ads in 2 days in this one house, and 3 of them took place in the kitchen and 2 of them took place out in a garage. If you're in the industry long enough, you're gonna end up lighting from a garage, and I do wanna give a shout out to Wandering DP Podcast for helping me realize some of the easier ways to go about lighting from a garage. It did take big units, it did take big HMI units, and the garage did have a couple things that were not going for it. When you're lighting from a garage and you want it to feel natural, you have to push a ton of light. Now add on top of that, a white wall garage. So exposing for white walls, pushing light in when you put 2 8x8 frames of ultra bounce, trying to catch anything back in there and bouncing light into it back into the room, it was blocking main sun rays coming through, so that kept it easier. But yeah, pro tip for you out there, if you can, just get the JL Fisher. I know it takes a few people to bring it inside, and you can always just lay down ram board or floor mats to keep the floor safe, but that flexibility of, man, it would be nicer if we were just a few inches down. That all it takes is grabbing the ped knob and twisting left or right. I think it's left for down, right for up. But it's not just about the camera support that helps you move quicker. It's very much often the camera and lens package. And here's one pro tip that I was able to do with this camera lens package. And my other tip is when the budget allows, sometimes it's pretty important to get the right camera lens package especially when you're having to move quickly. When I talk about having a camera and lens package that you can push, I mean camera and lenses that are so beautiful that if you didn't get that final tweak on, a light here or, shaping a structure of, with a flag here or something, it's still not noticeable because the lenses and camera you're using are so beautiful. And on this shoot, we went with the Alexa Mini LF with the Canon K35s, and they did great. They were fast. So fast that I'm very impressed with my first AC. He hit this kind of impossible pull of one of the talent doing this motion and dropping down and reaching her arm up with a potato on her end of her fork, and that hitting that focus from this giant pull was super impressive. What I mean by pushing a lens, it's about seeing how much you can get out of an image. It's about leaning into the character flaws that the image may have or its strengths. This was my first time shooting on K35s, and they were very beautiful. And here's a new pro tip. Don't allow your barn cats to always get cameos in every video. What's up, dude? Or gal. One of them is a boy, one of them is a girl. We got 2 orange ones, 2 black ones, and it's mixed. And we're back. Yeah, not all the time will you have the budget for that kind of lens and camera package, but for this job, for the speed, it was one of the things that I pitched to them saying, if we're gonna be moving this quick, here's why I wanna put this camera, the Arri Alexa Mini LF, because of its depth of field and being able to throw things out of focus. So we don't have to focus on that. We just keep the viewer's attention on the subject and these lenses because they have great character, they're beautiful, and we're dealing with these 2 female talent, and then we're allowing them to move around. So we're just gonna be able to, pretty much wherever we point the camera, it should look pretty. As long as we have it exposed enough, we should be good. And that's how art versus speed coexist. One of the most important things on a commercial set is to be able to move quickly, efficiently, and maintaining beautiful imagery. And one of the quickest ways to do that is combining the right camera lens package with the right crew and lighting approach. And I think the perfect balance was convincing them that, hey, if we can lean into the strengths of these camera lenses, that's gonna free us up some more time to allow the actors to explore the set. And if they don't hit their mark, that's okay, because we pre-lit it in a way that allows them still to look beautiful. And if the frame needed to be 1 to 3% better, and that's where I was able to push those lenses to its strengths, whether it's shooting it wide open to make things fall off and or be just non-distracting, to fun creative focus pulls when we had the talent drop down to her knees and raise up her fork with a potato on the end, and our focus puller nails this really cool top-down shot. All that was possible because we chose the right camera support system with the J.L. Fisher, the right camera lens package, and that was the way I was able to find the balance between art versus speed. And if I had the chance to bring back that producer who said, hey, are you fast? And you try to convince them saying, yes, I move quickly. You gotta be able to make sure you make the day. I think it's more important that we get the day than you've walked away thinking, ooh, that image was 110% perfect. There's a first AD, he said, he's often always giving me the room to make the changes. And he goes, is that 1%, 3%, 7% better? And I was like, that's a 1%. He's like, yep, moving on. Yeah, so it's those little fun, communication skills you build with crew over time that allow you to make sure that you can move quickly. And if you wanted to see some more of that kind of work on my website, you can check out stevenscgreathouse.com. Thanks for watching. Peace.